just a quick reminder to everybody that the IANDS National Conference is taking place in Salt Lake City, and it's coming up in September. It's going to be from September 1st to September 4th, and there are going to be workshops, and you can join online as well as in person. And a quick plug for next year, because the conference will be coming to Arlington, Virginia, and I will be looking for a lot of volunteers. So, okay, having said that then, let me turn this over to Dr. Allison Snowden. She had a near-death experience and has become a healer, an intuitive, and many other things as a result of that experience. And she is going to go ahead and tell us all about it. So let's everybody warmly welcome Allison today. So take it away, Allison.
Great. Thank you so much for having me here. And if you guys I have the chat open, so in my view, so if you have any questions as I'm going, I love to interact and with the audience and get feedback on where I can guide my story, because there's so many different layers and depths. So I have my eye out on the chat if you guys have any questions, or you can just put it in there. Okay, so thank you so much. My name is Dr. Allison Snowden. I had my near-death experience March 29th, 1999. And whenever I talk about my near-death experience, I have to talk about before, on what was going on before, leading up to my near-death experience. So I was born into an amazing family, and I was the second daughter, and my oldest sister was diagnosed with Burkitt's lymphoma when I was around 6, almost 7. And that had a really big impact on me, because there was a possibility that she may not make it. I was also around a lot of sick kids, and there were some of them didn't make it. So there was a lot of death around me. Some of her friends didn't make it. And so that was very impactful from the beginning. And so after my sister was cured from cancer, she still kept on getting sick. We were involved in an organization. We created a charity, and I just saw a lot of kids get reoccurrence and died. And then one of my cousins died when I was 14 unexpectedly. He was in a car accident, and he flipped his car, and he was missing for a couple of days, but he instantly died. And I remember thinking, I was 14 years old, and I just started praying to God. I was like, why is all of this death happening? I also was very scared of death. I always had a spiritual connection since I was little. My parents aren't very religious, but I always had this spiritual connection and this feeling of, connection to God, or this other force, prior to my near-death experience. I can remember one time when I was younger that I almost had this homesick feeling for another place. So that was even there before my near-death experience. So my cousin died, and that just clicked something in me, and I just started praying, and I was praying to God, show me what life is about. Like, this doesn't make sense. Why are all of these kids suffering? People suffering, dying. And I just was praying. I was going through an existential crisis at a very young age. And so I prayed and prayed. I was, involved in school, going around, being normal, but I had this very secret time with myself where I would just cry and really want to know what life was about. And so what happened is we went on vacation in Mexico. So that was about a year. So just that's setting the stage for what happened in my near-death experience. So that was about a year and a half where I was just praying to God to understand what death was like. If people were in a lot of pain when they died. My cousin, I had questions of that. Like, he was in a horrible car accident, and I just wondered if he felt that pain and how horrendous that would be. And so I was just praying for God to let me know. come. Now looking back, I was really trying to, I was almost manifesting and asking for my near-death experience, looking backwards now. So what happened is that we went to Cancun, Mexico for my older sister's spring break. She actually ended up not going because she was diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder, but my parents had already paid for the trip, so we went anyway. And so we went out to dinner. It was on the fourth night, and my mom would allow us to go and hang out with my sister's friends and then come back at around 10:30 or 11. And so what happened is I was in Cancun, this is spring break, and I lost my friend. So my friend that I brought on vacation, I lost her and I freaked out. And so I left our group. And so I left our group and I was walking in Cancun. And if anyone has been to Cancun, there's like the main strip. And then what happens is that there's like this green, island that separates the two walkways. And so I was walking there and I noticed a group of men that were following me. And what happened I was attacked by them. I lost consciousness. I was assaulted. And then I was run over by a motor vehicle. So they thought it was a motorcycle or a motor vehicle. And so I exited my body. So I was fighting for my life, and then all of a sudden it went blank. And then I was up in the sky for it's probably about 100 feet up. And I was just watching the drama that was happening. So I had ruptured my tibial artery, so I was bleeding out on the street. And so I was just looking at my, this human body, I call it my human suit. It was just dead, lifeless. And I looked and I was like, whoa, I'm dead. And I was in this unconditional love, this vibration of unconditional love, like bliss. I felt at home, and there is this voice that was like, oh no, this is who you are. That's not who you are. So it was, this energetic being, that's what I was. And so I was just engulfed in this unconditional love. And I try to say, it is like anything, if you can imagine the person or the animal that you love the most, you times that by 300 trillion million, and that's the feeling that you get, or that's the feeling that I got when I was up in that space. And in that space, there is no time. So I was in a third world country, so the details around my trauma, and I was by myself, are a little bit unknown. I get asked a lot, how long was I dead for? Was I clinically dead? And my answer is that I was dead enough for them to arrest a guy for killing me, but not dead enough to take me to the morgue. I woke up in the ambulance, so I was taken to the hospital. But there is not, I don't have any of that documentation because it was a third world country. So that's the context. So my near-death experience happened in a context of major trauma. And so I'm going to first talk about what I felt when I was out of my body, and then I'm going to go into translating all of what happened to me from the spiritual perspective into my healing and my recovery. So when I was up there, in that consciousness of unconditional love, just many different things became apparent. What came apparent was that, my identity, my true self was not my physical body. It was this energetic frequency that is not physical. So it's a non-physical reality. Also, the place where I went, I did not see it was a sensation place. It was a knowing place. It wasn't a physical place. It wasn't, I know some near-death experiencers see people, but mine was just a very impersonal, loving force that I was enveloped in. And when I was in that space, I knew that I had had many different lives. So I instantly believed or knew of reincarnation. Prior to that, I was born and raised in the Midwest, a Catholic. I had no exposure to reincarnation whatsoever. I was almost 16 at the time, so I was 15 when this happened. So I instantly knew and was shown that all of my past lives and everything that I've ever lived before was very detailedly recorded. And I was asked if I wanted to look at, some of my lifetimes. And it was like this energetic, just library of all of my experiences. And I got this sense that in between lives, like I would like study what I did, and then I would kind of then decide to reincarnate again. So that's one of the big things that I came away with, is that that everything in the universe is recorded. Everything. So your feelings, your intentions, like just your innermost thoughts, everything is recorded. And we get to study that in between lives and learn and grow, because that's the whole purpose of our soul is to learn and grow and to awaken and to master things. So I found that. I also you aren't talking, right? So right now I'm using words, using my vocal cords. However, when you're in that space beyond this physical reality on earth in your body, your energy. And so you are psychically talking to other souls or that creative force, that loving force. And at one point I was like, is this me or is this God talking to me? And it was like, oh, we're all in one. So it's this feeling of that we are all one and all connected. So, and then also what else was shown to me was, the message that was given to me was the only thing that matters is loving yourself and loving others. And so I was shown like, many people, or you may think that, what you look like, what, how much money you make, all of these different things matter, but really the only thing that really matters is loving yourself and loving others. And so that was very strong as well. I did not have a review, like a lifetime review, but I knew that when people, I think it was because I was so young, I was only 15, so there wasn't much life to review at that point. However, there was this knowing that, when people die, you have that experience when people die, they're met with this unconditional love, and they get to review their life. And so they get to really awaken to the fact that, what we do to others, we really do to ourselves. And I think, that's one of the things with near-death experiencers, is that we really understand at a very visceral level that that we are all one and we come from the same source and we're all in this together, and that your true identity and my true identity is this unconditional love. And we're awakened to it. And it's not just in us, it's in everyone. And we see it in everyone. So that was very profound. I felt like I was up there forever. I felt really refueled and just incubated with this unconditional love. What was going on below, like the drama, of the drama of my trauma, was going on below. And some people were like, have asked me, like, were you paying attention to it? And I really wasn't. You know how you can put on your TV and then you're just like not paying attention to it and you don't really know what's going on, but you know it's on? That's how I felt with what was going on with my physical body, and that the scene of the paramedics coming in and all of that. Like, I knew it was happening, but what I was really focused on was being in this unconditional love and just really getting these different messages and insights and remembering some of my soul's wisdom. And so I was just so enjoying that. I can remember, I'm like, oh, the ambulance is trying to get through, but I didn't really care. I wasn't really focused on what was going on in earth and with my physical body. So I was, so they talked about everything being recorded, that my true identity, everyone's true identity is love. And the goal of life is just really to love ourselves and love others. And that's just, it's that simple. That was the answer. That was what was communicated to me. I also remembered. I'll say remembered because when we're born, everyone has been in this space where we come from, right? This unconditional love. But when we're born into a physical body, we have this like amnesia, this amnesia of where we came from, and all, just to have this unique human experience. And so I say remember because, some of us forget where, our true self and why we're here. I remembered in that space also that like I had pre-planned, or I had wanted to have this experience and to come back and share about it. So I also remembered I picked my parents for very specific reasons. So my parents aren't very spiritual. They're very grounded, loving people and very ethical people. But they don't really care about, what happens after you die. They're not super spiritual or religious, but they're very good people that are very grounded in the here and now. And so my soul knew that it needed that. And so there was this specific, sense of that I chose my parents, like, because they were going to teach me something. So I was up there. It felt like forever because in that space, there is no time. And so it's interesting, like how I translate that is, so when a family member or someone crosses over, and then you cross over, it feels really fast. And it's really hard to describe like a timeless space because we're such in a time-oriented reality here on Earth. And, if we lose someone, it feels like forever. But really there is no time on that other dimension. Okay. And so I was up there, and there was this point where I had already made the choice to come back. So there is always choice, but I had already chose that I wanted to come back and share about this. And so I was like, okay, so I'm gonna go back. And I was like, anything else? And what was told to me was, your job is to bring this energy, this love, and anchor it into Earth. And then I just shot down into my body like very quick. And then I woke up in the ambulance. I was very disoriented because I lost a lot of blood. But that really stuck with me. And when I was going through all of my recovery, because I had many surgeries, and I'll share more about that, but that really stuck with me as like, I have this mission to bring this healing, this story, and this vibration on Earth. And at the moment, I was so young, I was like, well, how do I do that? How do I do that? Like, how do I accomplish that? So that's been a meditation of mine, of really, how do I fulfill and do my part in bringing that unconditional love here on Earth? And how that is manifested for me is, healing. So, at first, like healing myself, healing my body, and then also helping people here heal from their own pain, their own trauma, and then also, reconnecting to that love and that part of them. So, so after the near-death experience, I was, in Mexico. I had to have surgery there because my bone was exposed, and I needed to have emergency surgery. And so I had surgery in Mexico. It was a very horrible hospital. They didn't even have like clean sheets, or they didn't really clean my surgical site very well. And it was very scary. It was extremely scary. I had, I was taken to surgery. The people that were doctors, they didn't have uniforms on. I was very traumatized at that point. And so after I got out of surgery, there was a lot of chaos going around. My mom didn't know what was going on with me since it was such a horrible hospital I was taken to. They didn't have a CAT scan machine. They didn't have an MRI machine. And my mom's a nurse. And so she just knew that we needed to get me out because I had lost a lot of blood, and they didn't know if I was internally bleeding. So we signed that we wouldn't sue the hospital or sue Mexico in order to get out of the country, had a medvac get me out. And then I went back to St. Louis, Missouri. My dad works at a level 5 trauma center there. So while I was in the hospital, I shattered so what was broken was I shattered my mandible. So my jaw was in 4 different pieces. You can kind of see my arm scar. So this humerus was shattered, and it was like in 200 pieces. It was just completely pummeled. Most of my ribs were broken. So my pelvis, so your pubic bone and your butt bone, those were broken in 4 different pieces. And then my lower leg, my tibia, was a double compound fracture. So that means that it came out of the skin about that much, and it ruptured my tibial artery. So those were my physical injuries. And so I was in a tremendous amount of pain. I didn't get any pain medicine till I was medvac. So I didn't have any morphine or anything until I was on the medvac, which was probably about 24 hours later, because they didn't have any morphine at the hospital. But I honestly didn't really feel anything because my body was in so much shock. So one of the things that I tell people that I found out in my near-death experience is that you do not feel any pain. If you have a violent death, if someone has a violent death, you don't feel any pain. And, I just really want to share that because I know some people's loved ones have been violently hurt or killed in a car accident or in some other trauma. And when my cousin was killed in a very traumatic way, I really suffered and cried because I was like, oh, that my poor cousin, he was suffering all by himself and he was in so much pain. So I just want to, tell you guys that you don't feel anything. So I felt a lot of pain when I came back into my body, about 24 hours later after the shock came up. But the whole transition from being, attacked, assaulted, and then, hit, they said that I was probably the motor vehicle that hit me, or the motorcycle that hit me, was probably going about 60 miles per hour. So it was pretty, violent, traumatic thing. And I tell people that dying it's a beautiful trip. So I did not feel it. I did not suffer really. And so I think that is really helpful I've talked to some people who've lost kids in a violent way, or, were hurt really bad before they died. And I think that's really really nice to know that like they don't feel it and they're just surrounded with unconditional love. Like they're just taken away. So, but I definitely did feel my pain when I came back. And it was funny. I can remember being in the hospital, and I was at a Catholic hospital in St. Louis. And I can remember just laying in my bed and just, you know, being in pain, my hips, the hip pain, and I would breathe and there'd be pain there. I really was just in constant pain. And I like connected to like my guides and that universal love. And I was like, can I go back? I was like, did I sign up for this? You know, I kind of I had like a little bit of like buyer's remorse. I was like, wait, did I really sign up for this? And my guides were like, yep. And they told me, they're like, you're going to be in a lot of, it's going to be hard for the next 10 years. And I was like, wow. And so I was like, you know, like I was like, I missed that loving space, because it was the brutalness of the injuries that I had, and the pain was constant. And so to go from just that beautiful, blissful state to for my spirit to enter into a body that was completely destroyed on so many different levels was a shock, to say the least. But what I did when I was in the hospital and through my recovery, I was in and out of a wheelchair. So it took me about 2 years to heal all of the bones. I had multiple surgeries. You know, my bones went non-union because they were so, I had to have cadaver bone for my arm. I had a bone stimulator. Then they took out part of my hip bone to rebuild my arm because it kept on breaking. So I had many orthopedic surgeries over the 2 years. I missed most of my junior year and part of my senior year in school. And so there was a lot of things that were going on, but what stuck with me was the power of what I was exposed to through my near-death experience, that power of love, where anything is possible. And this healing power of this love was so pronounced. And so what I would do, so when I was lying in bed and when I was just, you know, not able to move, I mean, I needed 2 or 3 people to help me up to even like go to the bathroom. I would channel just that love. I would connect to that frequency and just see myself being healed. And I would see angels come, and they would be like repairing like my aura. They were sending me love. And so I was very aware of just still my connection with this unconditional love. And I would lie in bed and I'm like, I am going to heal. Like, I'm going to be running again. I was a runner. I was a horseback rider. I was competitive. I was very athletic. And my doctors were like, you're like, you know, you're going to be in pain the rest of your life. And I just kind of rejected that. I had this very solid feeling, and I had this vision that I was going to completely heal from this. And I saw it, and I knew it within my heart. And I had this sense, though, because my guides told me it was going to be not the easiest road, right? So I was prepared for that. And so that always stuck with me. I'm like, that unconditional love from my near-death experience, like anything is possible. I can heal anything. I can heal myself. So I did. What I did was then I just went into just healing. So I got educated. I got my undergrad in psych, and I got did massage therapy training, did energy healing, a lot of different energy healing modalities. And then I got my master's and doctorate in Chinese medicine. And I was always just seeing how I can transmute pain with that energy and create healing in myself and others. And so I've learned a lot through my own personal experience of healing. And part of what my guides were sharing with me is, you know, part of my mission is bringing that healing unconditional love back into the planet, first within myself, and then also sharing it with others, but then also expanding how we heal. Because a lot of people don't understand or are not tapped into the power to heal themselves, nor are they taught that. So I was determined to heal myself, and I knew it was possible, and I knew I was going to find a way, and then also along the way share that with others. So I was in chronic pain for about 10 years, and I didn't lose hope. Like, I kind of knew that, you know, the body sometimes, especially if the body's been through a lot, it takes time to heal. It takes a lot of attention. So I didn't have an instant healing or a spontaneous healing, but I eventually was, you know, pain-free, and I could run. The first time I ran without pain, I think 2000, it was right before I graduated from my master's. So it was like 2013. And I was just bawling because I was running, and I had rehearsed this in my brain when I was in a wheelchair and I couldn't move. I had rehearsed in my brain, one day I'm going to be running and I'm not going to feel pain. Like, and I just felt it and I imagined it and I projected that. And so when I actually got there in my life, I was so happy. Like, I would just cry out of happiness. Like I had healed it. I had done it. So, with that said though, I had another, actually, I had another pain. It was actually right before 2019, before the IANDS conference. I had an injection and it went septic. And so I was actually in the hospital again, 2019. And so I had to relearn again how to walk again for like the 6th time. So with that though, when that happened, I had been exploring really how our beliefs about ourselves and our beliefs about God, our beliefs about life, our beliefs about healing, also our traumas, and how that affects our healing and how that affects what type of life we manifest here. You know, how that affects or deters healing within our body. And so I kept on, you know, I had done a lot of energy work. Chinese medicine is a lot of energy work of how the mind and the emotions go together, and how really our mind and our emotions can really create health or, like, you know, create illness. So I was really fascinated with that, and I was really called to continue to study in that. And I found a technique, and the main technique that I use now it's called Theta Healing. And it really resonated with me because it really uses the energy of the universal force, creator energy that us near-death experiencers are very intimately remember and miss sometimes. And we use that to heal ourselves and to heal others. So what I found is part of my integration. I was technically a child near-death experiencer, and according to Atwater, children near-death experiencers take a little bit more time to integrate. Which when I read her research, I was like, oh, that makes sense. So to integrate our experience. But what I saw within myself and within my clients, so I worked with all different types of people, some near-deathers, but most people who hadn't had a spiritual experience, And what I found was a lot of people's traumas and their emotional programming and also their emotional traumas keep them from healing. And also there's this certain aspect of disease or pain that is an emotional, spiritual aspect as well. And so the technique, theta healing, was like the technique I use in order to access that universal love energy and to help people, and it helped myself heal the traumas in order so I can be in that state of unconditional love always. So I had, because my near-death experience was in the context of really, really some trauma, I saw that how that trauma and how that impact on my brain and my body really affected my ability to enjoy life here on earth. And I knew that I could find a way to heal that within myself and within others. And so currently my work is focusing on really helping people heal on many different levels: emotional, spiritual, also collective consciousness, and previous lifetimes as well, in order so they can live their highest life right now in this incarnation. And it's just been amazing to witness this healing in myself and in others. And the thing is that I was very frustrated because pain, physical pain, can really, really drain you. And then also emotional pain can really drain you. And so when I was going through some of my harder times, I was really like, there has to be something and a way to heal this, because I know that anything's possible through love. And also, like the point of life is to really enjoy it and to be in that vibration of love. But, the major barriers to that is a lot of trauma. So, and I feel like most humans have had a continuum of trauma, emotional trauma, being bullied, loss, abandonment, different things going up in childhood. And that has an impact on your physical body and on your ability to really fulfill your soul's purpose. So what I feel like the role I play in this amazing life is I truly feel like everyone has a gift to give the world, a gift to give each other, whether that is, being an amazing teacher or an amazing mother, or, inventing something or creating something. However, if we're not healthy, if we have unprocessed trauma, or if we have pain, that limits our ability to give that gift to the world and to ourselves. And that's really, that makes me sad. And so me as a healer is, when I'm helping other people heal, I work with near-deathers to help integrate their experience, because it's one of those things that you kind of, the lived experience of going through that is, you just kind of understand it more. And so I do work with near-deathers, but I mostly work with people who haven't had a near-death experience, who are spiritual, but they have an illness or they have traumas that they can't heal. And so we go really in to do deeper work with that, and bringing in that unconditional love that I felt from my near-death experience, and using that as a conduit to create healings and to be aware of what needs to heal. So I really am so passionate about healing, because I know every single human being on this planet is so precious and is so important, and really has a purpose, has a soul purpose here. And if they aren't, if they are hurt or in pain, then they can't offer that. And so I feel like part of my spiritual mission and role is to really, really help people heal so they can give their gift, you know, to the world, or so they can live their highest and best life in this world. And I really feel like everyone has this innate ability to heal, and they're just not tapped into it, or no one has taught them. And that's also one of my roles too, is to really help people heal and tune into their soul and into their intuition, and to really harness that power, that immense power that's within us, that love, that light consciousness that's within us. And it's very interesting, you know, to come back to Earth, because especially, well, in our modern culture, you know, I don't look, when I look at a person, I see their physical body, but I know that they are not their physical body, right? I know that they're not their job. I know that they're not their income. I know they're not their educational level. However, in our modern society, that's how we classify things. That's how people, you know, those are people's identities, right? And that's who they think they are. And so when I look at someone, you know, I see their soul, I see their brightness, I see their consciousness. And but a lot of suffering I see with people who haven't had a near-death experience is that they identify with their body, they identify with their emotions or with this, and they kind of they haven't remembered that light within them, that infinite wisdom and that divineness within them. And so I also see that causes a lot of suffering in people. And so I absolutely love working. I absolutely love working with people. And I used to get a lot of spirits that wanted to talk with me. You know, like, it was like when someone knows that you're plugged into that level, like, spirits come and they want to get your attention. And so, but my mission since I've been back has been very clear. It's really to help people that are human, that are living. I mean, I can speak beyond the veil, but it's been very clear that my mission is to really help humans heal and to realize the divine within them, and to really recognize their soul potential and their soul wisdom, so we can all contribute to the healing of ourselves and the planet. I really feel this is another thing that came to me. My NDE was in 1999, and it was also shared with me that this is a very precious time on the planet where you know, where we really need to heal, that we really need to heal ourselves and heal the planet. And there's a lot of help and people awakening to this, so we can really step into that vibration. And really, since it's been, you know, since 99, I've witnessed just people being more open to this. I've seen people healing more. So it feels like it's already happening in the collective of, you know, really just healing ourselves, healing each other. So I really feel hopeful about the world, which is sometimes some people, I guess now, depending on who you're talking to, may not share that. But I just see so many amazing souls here on Earth, and I think we're here to really help transform this ourselves and the planet. And we each have a vital role in this, and everyone is so precious and so important to this. Let's see. So yeah, that's my story. I can go into more parts if you guys want more, have some questions, do you have any questions that I can elaborate on?
Well, let's go ahead and invite everybody to ask questions. We'll be going until 3:30 today. And so I have a couple of questions. And so you talked about your eldest sister having problems with cancer and then recovering. I'm just curious, how is she?
She's doing great. She has, has 3 kids, and she's healthy. She has an immune deficiency, so she still has to get immune globulins, but she's doing great.
Yeah. Your cousin who passed away in the car crash, when you had your near-death experience, you said that you're aware that people don't experience any pain when they come to a violent death. Did you experience anything with past loved ones? You said you came out of your body, but did you have some of the classic near-death experience characteristics?
You know what? Mine was, it's really interesting. So I was like, my near-death experience, because I had a lot of people that I had died that I've known. And so it was very interesting to me that when I went to my near-death experience, it was just pure love. I didn't see some NDEers see people like in the astral realm or that, but this was like above that. It was in like pure creation. I think some people, it was very impersonal. And so it was really interesting when I started hearing other people's stories, and I was like, well, why didn't I see like, my cousin or my grandpa or any of the kids? And it was almost like I was just in this plane of consciousness that was like beyond that. And it was just pure unconditional love. And it was just very impersonal, but it was so personal. But I don't know why, like, I didn't have that experience. I didn't have that impersonal experience. But it's interesting, according to like theta healing, and how they do the different levels of consciousness. I was in a different dimension. So it was in the pure creative dimension. So there is a dimension where those people were in between lives, but I wasn't in that dimension. So, but I felt connected when I was in that space. I felt very connected to everything and everyone, but I didn't have like a conversation with my grandpa or my cousin or any of the kids that had died. It was just this feeling of just unconditional love, and we were just psychically communicating, and it was just this healing like vortex of just warmth and love and all knowing.
Mm-hmm. And the attackers, I mean, what an incredibly violent way to experience a near-death experience. So you separated, you lost a friend, you were trying to find her, you were on vacation in Cancun with your family, and you find yourself along this stretch, and then you're aware of a group of men who are pursuing you, and then you're assaulted, and in addition to so you were run over by a vehicle. This was on purpose at the assault.
So it's really interesting, and this created a ton of stress within me, and a lot of times with trauma and just the psychobiology of trauma, especially like your memories are fragmented, right? And so I went in and out of consciousness. So there was no one with me, and I was in a foreign country. So the story was like kind of distorted. So what I remember is these men following me and me being extremely scared, telling them to get away from me, and me running, and them running after me. And then I then blacked out, and then I was on the pavement, and I felt my underwear coming off, and I just started fighting. And so that's when I was assaulted, and then it went black again. And then I was outside my body, and I was bleeding, so I had been run over. So we never got a full account of, we didn't get a police report. A guy was arrested for manslaughter. My parents were told that I was run over by a motorcycle, or I was on a motorcycle. So they were given several different stories too. So that was super distressing for me in my own healing because, like I knew I experienced and I had body memories and very vivid memories of these men, but I never got how it all went together in the timeline. So that's one thing that a lot of trauma survivors, because of the intensity of the survival and the cortisol and all of the stress hormones, you really have fragments of memory. And the nature of trauma memories is it's not a storyline. It's like, they're just snippets. And so my mom, there was, so we had someone, there was I was on the street in Cancun, and some paramedics, they saw the American paramedics, I guess they saw the Mexican paramedics doing something wrong with my leg. And so they were the reason why they picked up my purse. And they were the ones who called my mom at the hotel for her to go. If it wasn't for them, I don't know how long it would have taken my mom to find me. So they stayed with me until my mom got there. But all that was with me, that they had my purse. All that was given from my mom was my purse, which had holes in it from, I guess, the being swept off my feet by a motor vehicle or a motorcycle, by being hit. So that was very apparent. And all that they had was like a bra. So my dress and like a lot of my other, like my underwear, like that was not with my belongings. So so it was I had my vivid memories, and then they had what the Mexican police said to my parents. But they actually, so my mom, the guy who supposedly hit me or was a part of it. So we never got to interview like the guy who was, there was a guy who was thrown in jail for killing me, but his sister and mom came to the hospital because they put him in the hospital and he was actually hurt too. And so in Mexico, if you're committed or if you're found guilty of a crime, they don't give you medical care. And so my mom actually, when I was we were waiting for the plane, the medvac to come, my mom went and bailed him out because she thought that he accidentally hit me, and that could have happened. I don't know if these people threw me into the street or what happened. But he was arrested for my manslaughter. And so my mom actually went to the police and was like, she's alive, allow this guy to go get, he wasn't as hurt as me, but this guy, I guess, had ripped off his ear and had some open wounds that, if it's not attended to, then, he would eventually get bacterial infection and die. But so they let him out, but my mom had a conversation with them, and the police were like, she's dead. And my mom was like, no, that she's not dead. So they had already convicted him of killing me. So I struggled definitely with that because I tried to, we had the phone numbers of the paramedics. We had the phone numbers of the paramedics, but my uncle lost those in the whole chaos of coming back to the States. So I had no context, or I had no one, I didn't have any of their numbers to understand what they walked into. No one was with me. So that definitely added to the confusion and the distress of what happened. And it was scary for me because I knew there was several different things that I remember very vividly. The men, them, taking my clothes off, that was very vivid. And I was very aware that was happening, but we don't really know how that happened. And then I was very much hit by a force that was going, like 60 miles per hour. So I wasn't, and I was swept off my feet because you could see that in my shoes. So the whole scenario of like what happened and if people were held accountable or anything like that was kind of never given to me because we were in a third world country, and it's not like the States when something happens, and we needed to get out of the country because my mom didn't know if I was internally bleeding or anything like that. She knew.
I didn't mean to put you through all of that again. I'm sorry.
No, it's totally. No, but it's one of those things that, and I'm really passionate about healing and also trauma, because there's so much, so many things that people don't know, and that survivors don't know, and those memories and the fragmentation of what happened is so common. And it's actually like a relief when you hear, oh, that's normal. Like you don't have like a cohesive memory of it.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. So we have some questions, and the first question is, Dr. Allison, how do we find or learn our own healing power?
So that's so first of all is everyone has it, and that's what I do. I teach classes, and I hope like my story inspires you, because if I can heal, then you can. And I'm connected to this loving power within myself and outside, but so are you. And part of my mission is that I want everyone to feel this power within them and get attuned to this power, but I don't want them to have to go through a near-death experience, right? So with my favorite is to do is just to tell people to start praying for this and for this to be awakened within them. And then I have classes that I teach to help people heal their subconscious programming that blocks this power, or our programs and what we believe. Because if we don't believe on some level that we can heal ourselves, then we're kind of going to shut it off, right?
So the same person who asked the question said, so sad to hear your story. You're very strong. And now it's amazing that you're actually healing other human beings as a result of this experience.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I see that now. I can see it.
Yeah. So there's another question here. Somebody's saying that they have a preview that they will die violently. Is that changeable? Is it possible that you didn't experience pain at death, but others may?
I mean, I think, well, just what I know about the human body is that our human body, when there's extreme, trauma going on, we have natural opioid and painkillers that go on, and it really just kind of shuts it down, and you don't really sense it. I mean, anything is possible, right? I can't really talk I can only speak from my own experience, my own education, but what I've noticed is when we are in a survival mode, or when we're in that state, we kind of, our adrenaline goes up, and we don't really feel any pain. And it's kind of like the body is such an amazing, the body is such an amazing vessel, and it has that protective aspect to it. So I think I feel pretty confident that you, if you die in a violent way, I was scared and I was fighting in 1 second, and and then I was bam, out of my body. And then I was in that unconditional love and that aspect that was just super loving. So I feel like we have a protective aspect within our own body, when there's that much that it just kind of, we don't feel like, and I've talked to other people who've been in trauma, and that's also kind of like how they've experienced it. Now, I mean, I did have a ton of pain coming back, but no. So, oh wait, what was it?
So the other question was, thank you for that. The other question was, this person is having a preview in maybe some sort of premonition.
Premonition. I think anything is changeable. What I've known with really being in touch and I, connect and pray and connect to this force that, life destiny is not set. I think there's certain things that we come here to do and to experience, but I really do think that, as we heal ourselves and as we learn and connect more to ourselves, we shift, the future of ourselves and of our planet. But I think that if you have a premonition, I think anything's shiftable and healable and changeable. But I also know that sometimes if we hold on to our fears or, we really focus on someone. So I just want to share that, looking back to when I was younger, I focused, I was praying to the universe. I was praying to God to show me what happens when you die. I got what I was praying for. Like, I didn't think because I never had that thing, when certain people are like, well, why did this happen? I didn't have that because I knew exactly why it happened, because I wanted to know, I wanted to understand this whole, this bigger picture of why we come here and why there's pain and why there's suffering. And I really wanted to know. And I'm kind of one of those people that no one was giving me a good enough answer. And I don't think back in that day, the internet wasn't very big back in 99. And so I couldn't Google it or find a near death or story, but so I just focused on it. And I think that's one thing is the more you focus on something, it brings it into your field. And so just maybe you have to learn something from that, but I would say just also bring it in, what you want, be mindful of what you focus on. Right.
Right. Exactly. So that's a very interesting message because, as you say, what you focus on expands. And so if this person is a little bit fixated on this premonition, it may be that they're going to bring it on to a certain.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And I think sometimes our fears, a lot of times, love is the truth. Love is the vibration. And I think it's interesting how our fears, I don't know, sometimes my fears have manifested in the past just to show me that there was no fear, right? That I lived through it, or that there was something else. And so I think, sometimes our soul needs to experience certain thing. And, each soul can tune into that and see what they're getting and what they're creating. But the pain, I think the biggest pain though, if we're talking about pain, because I was in Chinese medicine, I wanted to touch on this, Chinese medicine's approach to healing. Well, Chinese medicine, guys, is such a holistic paradigm. There's the cool thing. Oh, do you guys want to hear something? The cool thing with near-death experiencers and Chinese medicine. So in Chinese medicine, the spirit of the liver is called the Hun. And that is what happens when you go to sleep at night. It kind of goes up. And also this is what goes on from lifetime to lifetime. So, and the Hun is anchored in the blood. And so it's interesting, when I was learning about this in Chinese medical school, I was like, oh, that's so interesting. I lost all of this blood, and probably my consciousness went up and, had that near death experience. So within Chinese medicine, it's a very holistic, the mind, body, spirit is inseparable. There is no separation between your mind, your thoughts, your emotions, and the consciousness and your physical and the state of your physical body. So that training and their paradigm and how they view human consciousness and human emotions and how that relates to physical disease is very interconnected to our soul, to our body, to our environment, our external environment, and also our internal environment. So, and then with Chinese medicine, I did, with a lot of my healing, I did a lot of energy work and theta healing work, but I did a ton of massage, a ton of acupuncture, herbs. But I think if you would ask me the number one thing and what determines, you know, if someone on like someone's healing is really the belief, you know, and I hope like my story inspires people that, you know, it's within them. And then also with certain techniques like theta healing and other mind body techniques, you can change beliefs and you can shift that. And so you can really train yourself to tune into that power within you and awaken that power within you. So often we, you know, people tell us something and we take it in, oh, you're this, or, oh, you know, the doctor told me, oh, you're going to be in pain the rest of your life. And luckily I was like, nope, I'm not going to be in pain the rest of my life. You know, I'm going to find out. So I think a lot of times we don't realize how much people's or authority figures share with us, you know, and then we just take that on. So I see that with a lot of, when I was working a lot with pain patients, that they would just take on their diagnosis and they would just kind of succumb that, you know, they had to get, that they're like subscribed to a whole lifelong of pain. But I think there's a pain, guys, of there's also a pain of not being totally aligned with our true authentic self, right? Or our emotions, right? I feel like when I was in that existential pain, like some people ask me, they're like, I'm grateful for my experience because I don't have that existential pain of like what happens when we die or what is this whole about, because it was answered through my near-death experience. And so yeah, pain and dealing with a decade of pain, and I spent a lot of, you know, there was a lot of suffering, but I'm like, you know, physical pain is okay, but that, you know, I got my answer. Now I wish it wasn't, I didn't have to suffer so much, but it really, like, there's something that feels so good when you know, when you are awakened to your power, right, in your soul.
I just want to go back to the member who asked that question, and they've said that the preview so far is of a gunshot or a knife. Is that changeable? And then they said, thank you, it's my mother who has tried to murder me and is threatening to harm me again. I will focus on the life I have. So I'm going to go ahead and put my telephone number in the chat here, and if you would like to this number, if you would like to call me at some point, I would love to talk to you a little bit more about it. But I just wanted to say something about that, because obviously these are very kind of real fears. But I think you're absolutely right. I think that, let's think about it for a second. This is a loving universe. There's nothing to fear, okay? And so if this person is having some sort of premonition or preview of something bad, it's possible that they've actually decided ahead of time to have that experience.
Yep.
Okay. And if they did decide to have that experience, no doubt it's for a very good reason, that they want to learn something and grow from it. Mm-hmm. Or it is conceivable that if they change their thinking, or at least give into it, surrender to it, give it to the universe, and try to not come from a place of fear, that it may be changeable. So what I'm trying to get at is maybe there's a space there where the person can just find peace and calm and just give it over, because one way or the other, it's all going to be okay, as scary as it is from the human plane.
Totally, like, exactly. And also, I mean, also I'm one of those people also who And, part of the reason why I was born into my family is that my parents are, like also like do what you have to do, turn it over to, to the universe, surrender and do what you can do. So if you have a premonition of someone, I don't know the extent of if it's I think that the mom or something, maybe if there is a real threat there, then take the cautions, right? Like sometimes we're given premonitions, so so we can do something about it or take those extra steps. So if there is actually a real threat, do what you have to do to protect yourself always, obviously. And on the bigger existential thing is, with what happened to me in my life, like no one should feel pity or sorry for me, because I know one of my gifts is to really help people who've been through a lot and who've been through trauma, and to heal so they can live a life beyond like all of that's happened to them. And so part of my education in that was going through it. And I feel really aligned and really at peace with, there was a time where I wasn't at peace with it, in my life right now. I see it as a huge asset, and I'm pain free, and I can function. I have a beautiful life, and I get to help people on a real deep level. So it's very educational. And so that's a skill set. That lived experience is something that is so potent and that has such a healing power. So, I feel like it was such an education. And it was funny because like my mother, I'm sure any mothers in there involved would be like, she's like, why did this happen, to my child? And that's hard to watch someone go through it. But from a very, spiritual level, and sometimes it's hard for our human brains to wrap around. I was like, this was part of my life. And this is part of what I chose to come here to learn. And this is part of my healing mission, right?
So let me ask you, let me help you with the questions here. So why did you choose Chinese medicine as opposed to Western medicine? And another question, that's my question, but it melds with another question here from one of our members. What is the Chinese approach to healing specifically?
So I come from a family of Western medicine, and I am so grateful for Western medicine. If it wasn't for orthopedic surgery, I would not be where I was. I have metal in my jaw, in my arm, in my leg. And so they put me back together. However, Western medicine is really not good at dealing with emotional or physical pain. Most of you guys know that, the opioid epidemic, and I was on opioids, and they have a place, but for deep, for structural, for spiritual, for emotional pain, Western medicine is has very little resources. And so what I saw is, yeah, it's great that I survived. Like everyone's like, yay, Allison, you survived. But what's the point of, and this is my feeling about my life was, what's the point of me surviving when my quality of life was so horrible, with the emotional pain, with the PTSD, with the physical pain? The point of living is to learn and to grow, and also to enjoy it, and also to be present. And when you are in chronic pain, which we have a chronic pain epidemic in this country, emotional, mental health, which is also pain, and also physical pain, you can't show up as your authentic self. You can't give your gift, your soul gift, to the world. And so it's a major issue. So with Chinese medicine, they have many different, diet, acupuncture, it's very energetic, massage. So really finding the root issue of it and healing it, and then also your lifestyle is a healing lifestyle as well. And so Western medicine currently, you know, their approach to pain is to give anti-inflammatories or to give opioids, and it's not a sustainable thing, and it doesn't fit the root issue. So I used to, when I would, and I only now teach energy healing, theta healing, and intuitive healing, medical intuitive. And also I see clients telehealth, you know, through Zoom. And I don't now practice acupuncture, but acupuncture is great for pain, and massage is great for pain. There's so many different avenues for that. And so luckily it's really sad to me because a lot of people maybe aren't exposed to those different modalities and they get hooked on pain meds. And the thing about pain meds is that you get hooked on them, and then your body starts to feel pain more intensely. So you have a dependence on it. And so it's a really bad cycle that Western medicine has gotten into with pain. And so holistic medicine, energy medicine, theta healing, heals pain. And I want to share with you guys that I have doing emotional work and healing and soul work actually can have an effect on your physical body. So my knee that I had the injection in and it went septic in 2019, that's bone on bone and I have no pain in it. And I just did emotional healing work with myself, and some belief work with myself. And I cleared a lot of the emotional pain that came with that experience and with other experiences. And I can walk with no pain. I can cycle, and I can do yoga. So technically, like that should not be the case, but you know, I'm pain free, which is so cool. So I think we, as in Western medicine for sure, but as people and as our consciousness, we are way more powerful to heal ourselves than anyone's given us credit for. And if I can heal certain pains, like so can anyone else. And like that's my message is when you have that intent and you find people that know how to do it and can help guide you, and you stick with it and you're persistent, you know, your healing will come. I think sometimes people don't heal because they don't have the right tools. They don't have someone to show them. I definitely went through years where I did not have the right, I didn't know what I was doing. And so I was trying a lot of different things. So I think, you know, having the right technique and the right tools, and the right person, and also with that, you know, pray and intend for those people to come in your life, because there is, you know, whenever I've really had this intent, like I'm ready to heal this, you know, show me what to do next. It always shows up. I hope that, does that answer?
Yes, I think it does. So we have one member who's asking if you work by phone or telehealth. It sounds as though you do.
Yeah, I do. So mine is, my website is Dr. I'll just put it in.
Yeah, we have it. We have it actually. You can do that, but we also sent it off to. It was in the flyer that we sent to everybody.
Okay, perfect.
But
yeah, drsnowden.com, and so I do telehealth, and so I work with people in Europe here, and then I also teach. I teach theta healing, energy healing. Also, I'm creating some things, some mini courses about understanding trauma. And so there's so much cool stuff in the pipeline. But yes, I do see clients telehealth right now.
Great. So I have a question. A lot of the focus has been on physical healing.
Mm-hmm.
How have you been able to emotionally heal from the experience that you had?
Well, I say that, and this is where the emotional healing comes is huge. I think the emotional healing actually sometimes precursors the physical healing. So the theta healing, so with theta healing, we do belief and feeling work. And so it's using your body. So your body has a certain emotional reality. So for example, so through theta healing work, you can heal trauma, you can heal your nervous system, the shock and trauma, and also clear beliefs. So for example, as a trauma survivor, my body has been primed to extreme stress, no stress that most people haven't gone through. And so my body's belief before I started doing the emotional work through theta healing, I have a yoga practice, and that has saved my mind, body, and spirit. And I do that every day. I've been doing that since 2012, everyday yoga. But you can, if your body doesn't feel like it's safe, then you're not going to be able to heal and relax. And so theta healing is a very specific technique to deal with beliefs and to have that cleared in your body. And so the emotional healing I got the most from was from doing the emotional work with the mind body through theta healing. And what I was saying is that a lot of our physical pain can be healed. A lot of the root is emotional. Mm-hmm. I feel like we live in a society, as a culture, like a headache, is oh, okay, that's more acceptable than like saying like, I don't know, I don't feel aligned with my life purpose, or I feel disconnected from people. And so I feel like, I don't know if you feel this, but I also feel like, Angie, we're in emotional and spiritual evolution and revolution, where we're really waking up to the power of our feelings and our emotions, and how that unconsciously and subconsciously drives our feelings, our thoughts, our behaviors, and how that affects us and how that affects our perception. And once you heal trauma and heal beliefs that are controlling your autonomic nervous system, your whole perception changes, and also how you feel in your body. So going back to your point, Angie, is like my knee, technically I should be in a ton of pain because I have no cartilage on my knee, but I've done all of this emotional work around it, and I don't have a pain sensation. And so it was really interesting, is really in my work, is really to dive deep in why is this pain here? Because pain is there for a reason, and so we have to address it and find it and heal it. And so emotional pain is there for a reason as well. And a lot of times we just need to heal and to do some healing around that. However, in our society, we kind of just suppress it. And
we're just waking up to the notion that the mind and the body are absolutely intricately interconnected, and in fact it really starts with the mind and then moves into the body, which is of all the feelings.
Well, and the thing is that in this kind of quantum, as we're kind of stepping into this era of like quantum mechanics, quantum physics, and this energetic world, everything first starts in the energy field, in the mind, in the non-physical. Then it moves into the physical. So like anything, like I had that intention. I want to know why there's suffering on this planet. I want to understand, does it hurt to die? I prayed for that, and then it manifested. And I think that's like with anything, you have to first like intend for something to happen, before. But the cool thing with energy healing is that if you can clear, what I've found in my practice, when you can clear the emotional or the subconscious program, and that goes also with our ancestral trauma as well, right? So we have DNA, and like we carry, and we're impacted by, our parents' traumas or their unresolved traumas, and then also their gifts as well. So we carry that as well. So with theta healing, it's a very, very evidence-based technique because we use the muscle testing. So we make sure that your emotional reality understands, that it's safe, or that you can heal. So one of the first things I test with my clients is, on all levels, I can heal myself. And many people, when we energy test them, their body is like, no, because so many of us have been conditioned and programmed by society, by other people, and we accept those limitations. And we're programmed when we're younger, from age, from in utero, all the way to 7, and we're just soaking up all of these things. And we still also get programmed, by what we read as adults too. But a lot of the things that we create, what I found in my practice in myself, those emotional traumas, those feelings that really impacted us as we were forming our brain and our personality, we have to address those. And as we address those and heal, a lot of times the physical pain, the physical manifestation of things shifts. And so it's super cool. We're kind of, from energy medicine, we're taking it from the energetic level. We're healing it on this level, and then it shifts to the physical.
Allison, I want to be very respectful of your time. We have 3 minutes and we still have a couple of questions.
Okay, perfect.
One of the questions is, how did your experience affect your relating and relationship with God? Did it wax or wane?
My gosh. I mean, it just completely bolstered. I mean, it, lit it up. I felt like I'd had some very interesting previous lifetimes where I was very connected to God. But when I had that near-death experience, I share with people is that is more real than like this world right here. Like I got to experience that experience, like that is the true world. Like that reality is the reality. This is the temporary reality here. And so of course, like my faith and my knowing and my connection, and I feel the connection coming through in my work. I'm super privileged to be able to channel this energy for people. And so I just feel like I'm constantly with that God energy. And I love teaching people because it's not just for me, it's for all of you guys, for you to feel that and open up. However, sometimes our traumas and our conditioning and our pain block us from that light. And that's what the healing works about, is, really healing, giving yourself that healing so you can really feel and embody that light and that love of what you are.
So I have time for one quick last.
Yeah, totally.
Thank you. So is your theta healing related to the emotion code by any chance?
No, it's the emotion code. I wasn't trained in that, but I've trained people that have been trained in the emotion code, and theta healing has a deeper spiritual one. So we have different levels. So we work on past lives. We work on the soul level. So soul contracts, also DNA. So, and this life. So it's similar. However, the people I've trained, I can't speak about the emotion code, but the people I have trained, my healers that have trained in both, they say that theta healing is a lot more powerful because we connect to the loving consciousness, which I don't think in the emotion code they do. But I can't speak on it because I haven't been trained in it.
What do you think about? I mean, a lot of the healing, emotional and physical, is done through the theta healing. But what about people who maybe go through that? Is there actually a place for psychotherapy in your approach, or does it completely rule out any help from psychotherapy? It's more of a spiritual approach to psychotherapy.
That's more of a spiritual. It's a trauma informed mind body approach to healing. Because psychotherapy is done at the cognitive level. And I think that there is a there is a place for therapy, and I'm not a therapist. I'm not, there is a place for it. However, the research that's coming out with trauma and the autonomic nervous system, most of this stuff is not on our conscious level. So talk therapy alone cannot heal trauma. And that's been backed up in research too. And if you think about it, most of these things are on unconscious or subconscious level, that our body holds the pain, our body holds the memories, but we're not aware of it. And so really talking about it, about something that you can't really put your finger on, doesn't really solve it. And so I went through like 10 years. I was at the top trauma centers when I was younger, because I had a horrible time with PTSD, and it made it worse. I did not, it did not heal. And that was back in 2000. So we've come a long way with trauma, but now the talk therapy has its place, but it won't heal like those deep survival wounds, because that's not available for our conscious mind, right?
Sounds as though it might require a sort of a hybrid approach, really, where there's a lot of energy healing, but maybe there are still some unfinished questions, some issues that they may not be feeling the pain as acutely as they were emotionally, but they're still a little bit confused in terms of how do I process that experience? Where do I actually put it in my psyche now? How do I harness that and get strength from it to proceed in my life? I mean, to me, it feels as though there could be some benefit from spiritual psychotherapy, not the typical secular, let's talk it out idea, but just in terms of coming to terms with what actually happened and putting it in a specific place and then being able to move on from it. Does that make sense to you?
Totally. And I think that is true. And the thing is that I think for me as a trauma survivor, like if I could heal the pain, the emotional pain and the flashbacks and like kind of that, then like the problem with trauma is that, and our programs, is they're alive and well in our body. So unprocessed trauma will eventually, and unprocessed emotional pain, and this is in Chinese medicine too, will eventually, if it's not dealt with, because it creates imbalances in our hormones and our nervous system, that's stress. Constant stress will eventually lead to pain or chronic disease. So we need to deal with it at an emotional level, not a talking. Whenever I'm like, talking about healing is not the same thing as healing. So in the healing sessions, in my healing sessions, we do talk, but there's a technique and a healing, and I see things healing psychically. So I can scan people and I can see what is going on with them, emotional, mental, and I can see that. And I also train people to do it. And that's something I've been working on for the past 20 years, that gift. And so I see why the trauma, but then also how this is working in their life, and really helping them to heal that. And I think a lot of the things that most deeply move us and hurt us are unspeakable, right? Like a lot of the things that happen, when we're younger, if we have that feeling of abandonment, or if our mom was never there, our nervous system doesn't understand on any level what that feels like. And so there's just kind of that energy. And so I feel like energy medicine is so helpful, because we can download specific feelings, and we can reprogram the brain and the energy system to feel something that maybe they haven't felt before. And so I think words are so important, and I talk in my sessions, but I'm witnessing like an energetic change in the field. And I can see on an energetic level if people are accepting the healing. So it's one of those things where I'm like, I'm working to do some videos to demystify it because it's very verifiable. So hopefully that'll be on my website too. Because it's funny. I was Angie, my sister, and my family, they're not into this spiritual stuff. And so they're like, what is Allison doing over there? And I let her, one of my clients let her sit in on a session. And my sister was like, oh, you're doing like therapy. And I'm like, no, this is not, this is theta healing. It's healing the energetic body from this. We are talking, but it's not, we're not cognitively, we're processing it through the body and through the light, through love. And so it's a totally different internal experience, but from the outside, someone looking in might be like, oh, you're doing like counseling. But it's a very different aim and goal. And so it's one of those things. I hope to have more videos out to clarify to people like what it's like. But it's definitely shifted, cleared so much of my trauma that was in my body, and that was kind of, hijacking me from being completely present. And a lot of us, trauma is not your fault. If you grew up in a home, or if you were bullied, or if anything, that's not your fault. However, your body and your nervous system adapted and created, certain beliefs and things in there, and that has consequences, and that can be impacting how you're showing up for yourself or for others. It can affect your self-esteem. So, the world there's a lot of love in this world, but in this earth world, there's also a lot of avenues for pain. And I'm here to share that your ability to heal your life, your mind, your body is so immense and so powerful. And I just that's what I just want to share, because, I've been bullied when I was younger. I got hurt, there's many things, but the love and the power to heal ourselves and each other, I feel like we're just starting to tap into it. And I'm excited to just share this the rest of my life, because it's really amazing to see people heal and really align with their true self.
Final question here. How do you feel about some of the cutting edge programs that heal people from trauma and addiction using hallucinogens and psilocybin, for example?
Oh, I think it's great. I think I love the research on mushrooms. There's very good research on ketamine for PTSD, to reset it if someone's having suicidal ideations. That is probably, I think that's the number one. That should be the number one if someone has suicidal ideations. If they have PTSD or chronic PTSD, that is probably the first Band-Aid line of approach to do, and then to do the emotional work. So I think the psilocybins and the hallucinogens, they get you out of, open up your mind in a way, like such as a near-death experience, but then also help with your mushrooms. Actually, psilocybin actually help, are neuroprotective. So it's actually healing for your brain. So I'm for it. And I feel like that's going to get bigger. Also, so I think that's a part. And I think we're in this world of medicine where we're combining many different things, and what works for one person, and it's kind of a more individualized aspect. So I think that is the research and the stuff they've been doing on that is great. And the thing is with theta healing and energy work, is the inner work is so important too. So really digging into finding yourself, looking at yourself, feeling your feelings, and let's be honest, many of us haven't been trained to do that. They don't teach us in school, what our feelings are, unless our parents teach it. But, a lot of families pass on dysfunction and some abuse. And so I don't think we can completely heal everything through, like psilocybin and ketamine, but it helps the brain repair and reset so you can do more of the inner work and the spiritual work. So yeah, I think it's great that has come on the forefront.
Okay, super. Thank you. Well, that completes the questions, and we do want to let you go because I
have to go and teach. But yeah, thank you guys. I would love to hear any feedback. So if I'm on Instagram, if you're on Instagram, or on Facebook, Dr. Allison Snowden, or my webpage. And thank you so much. And I just sending you all just so much love and healing energy and just hope and inspiration your way. And just that you have so much magic in you. And I hope you see that. And so you can reach out to me, or if you have any questions. And thank you so much.
Getting lots of hearts and lots of thank yous. So keep up the good work, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, guys.
We'll see you next month. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.